You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I hope wherever you are in the world and whatever you're doing, you are doing especially well. You're about to listen to my conversation with Anthony Bray, aka Abaddon, the longtime drummer for UK metal overlords Venom, or these days they're called Venom Inc. The discussion originally went to air on the 5th of September 2017 on 4ZZZ Z Digital. Let's cut to the chat with Abaddon. Here we go. So, Abaddon, I want to offer you a heartfelt welcome to the Scars and Guitars podcast. It's not every day that you get an opportunity to chat to a member of a band that inspired a whole style of music, so I first want to congratulate you on an outstanding career and for producing a revered body of work. When you look back all of those years ago to when Venom formed, did you think that the early albums would be so sought after for their stylistic and lyrical content, and that 35 years later that you would release an album as strong as Are They?
No, to be fair. I think the main reason for that, I would quantify, is so much opposition from amongst the metal community as well as, other sources. We weren't the sort of band who were easily liked. It's not really until we broke up in the end of the 80s that other bands started coming through and citing us as influences. Mm-hmm. So you'd get various different factions. You'd have somebody who liked Pantera and somebody who liked Cradle of Filth. Those two genres had split by then.
Yes, you're right.
And the bands up in Scandinavia doing the hard, dark black metal. They'd taken black metal as their genre. And you have Slayer doing something completely different. But then both bands would be citing Venom as an influence. And you'd have people who would look at it and go, hang on, that band must have had something about them. There must be something about Venom that ties all this together. And now with a bit of longevity, people see that the importance of Venom wasn't necessarily about the beauty of the music or the musicianship, or clever artwork or anything like that, but they see that the band was fresh and original and different and very much straightforward and steadfast. Away from the music, if you look at the logo, it was the first logo that was difficult to read.
Yes, you're spot on.
We were the first band that did photographs where I deliberately hid my face. I used to get into arguments with the record company boss who would say, "You've sent more photographs here where we can't even see who you are." And I'm like, yeah, but that's part of it. I don't particularly want to stand there with a smiling face, being called Abaddon in a band called Venom with a song called In League with Satan. I want to kind of have this air of mystery. And that whole thing, came about from us. It wasn't deliberate, I don't think, to say, we need a logo, B, we need band names that are weird. It all happened very, very naturally for us. And it was just part of being lads in the northeast of England, which was a pretty rough area in the end of the 70s. There was a lot of the miners' strikes were happening. There was a lot of football hooliganism.
Yes,
there was a big thing with punks and skinheads over here. Punk was still pretty fresh. Skinheads were still going to football matches and kicking the shit out of anybody with long hair, and vice versa. And there was a lot of violence and a lot of anger amongst parents because the shipyards were closing, factories were closing, and people were on the dole. It was pretty hard, and we grew up in the middle of that, wanting to make music. So the music was always going to be angry. It was always going to be a bit rough. And the fact that we didn't have much technical ability meant that we just got in a garage and beat the shit out of it and beat our anger out on the instruments. And the fact that some songs came out of that was happenstance, really.
Yeah, okay, that's a really good point. Now, one question I want to ask you then, before I start talking about Are They, if that's okay, is where did the inspiration behind the satanic theme and the devil theme come from?
Again, that was just something that we were all interested in. It's no secret that sort of thing runs through the history of heavy metal, even light stuff like Ozzy or Dio,
Yeah, sure.
I mean lighter stuff. Sorry, not light, but lighter stuff. So we just took it to the nth degree, same as we did with everything. We just took it to the worst degree we could. I mean, if you talked about religious leanings or anything like that, I think we were basically all just atheists. We didn't like what we heard coming out, stories coming about the priesthood and Catholic schools and all this kind of thing. So it was pretty easy to write lyrics, to be honest, to write blasphemous lyrics. It was pretty easy. It was in the newspapers every day, so there'd be some thing going on.
Yeah.
So it was right there in front of us. It was pretty straightforward. And I think the thing that when we started going to places like Brazil, or even when we were in Italy or Spain, who are they're predominantly religious places,
very Catholic, yeah.
And the people that we were playing, very Catholic. And the people that we were playing to were very impressionable. 15, 16, 17-year-olds who were kicking against their parents and against the schools and the churches and the way they'd been brought up. So we were preaching to the masses without trying to, we were often asked, are you trying to make some sort of a coven here or get these people to sign up to your version of events? And we were like, no, we're not. We're just a band, and these people happen to like it. But society has set up a big bunch of people who feel the same as us and are kicking against, this big, strong religious way they're brought up. So they're just sitting there waiting for us to come along and say, you know what it is? It's all shit, and they all agree with us. It wasn't difficult.
Yeah, no. Okay, no, thanks for the context there. I've always wanted to ask you guys that because I am a long-time fan of the band. You wouldn't believe, but the first album I got into was Primeval. Way back in... well,
that's my favorite. That's my favorite album.
Great,
by far.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm so glad that you guys haven't come out in the media and started to slag your back catalogue either. Just a quick story. I'm a big fan of Ozzy Osbourne's solo work. More so a fan of his solo work than I am of him in Black Sabbath. To be honest, I always preferred Dio in Sabbath than Ozzy in Sabbath, but I never appreciated it the way Ozzy came out and started to slag on The Ultimate Sin or the albums that had J.K. Lee as the guitarist, because they're my favourite two albums from him. And I love, and I'm quite sincere when I say this, I love the albums you did with Tony from 1989 through to 1992. They were my favourite albums because that's the era that I got into you guys through, and I actually went back from there and got into Welcome to Hell and Black Metal. And, of course, you wouldn't have a reason to slag off on those albums, but... bands, especially with such a storied history as you guys have got, and you've had different band members and the like, sometimes there's a tendency to come out in the media and go, oh, don't worry about that album, we're going through that then. I mean, it really helped me retain a sense of, I'm not going to say ownership, but it's a part of my youth, it's a part of the way that I grew up, Primeval.
Well, that's right there in a nutshell is what we get from people who say, it meant this much to me and it means that much. And it took me a long time to realise that because I'm a music fan, but my stuff was obviously, way before that with Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin and whatnot. But yeah, there's a certain, I'll hear a Led Zeppelin track start and it takes me right back to being at school, and it's like, wow, there's not much can do that. Smells can do it. You walk past a bakery or something and you get that smell and you think, oh, wow. And music does that. And there's not many things that do that to you, which, it makes the hairs on your arms stand up. It's doing it now to me and I'm just talking about it. And it's like, music does that and it means so much to people who get into it. Yeah. And what I love about metal fans as well is I've recently just got married.
Congratulations.
My wife isn't into... Thank you, man. But my wife's a lot younger and she doesn't get into our type of music, but she absolutely, absolutely loves music. And quite often I have a conversation on Facebook or something and people say, oh, what does Rachel listen to? And I'll tell them. And they'd be like, yeah, but she loves music. She just loves music. And it's like, they get it. And it's like, it doesn't matter that it's not Slayer. It doesn't matter that it's not Metallica or something. It's like, she just loves music. And I love the fact that as she's growing up, all the things that she's listened to she's going to carry them with her, And it's a huge thing.
It is.
To be part of it, to be part of a band is massive. And that period, we're getting a little bit stale when we were with Conrad. I still like the stuff, I like it as much, stuff like I've always said I'm Possessed. Jeff hates it.
Right,
And I'll say to them, but it's still important to some people. Some people pick up on that album and love it.
Yes.
And you're allowed to hate it, but you also have to understand that they like it. And when we got together to do RV, I sort of said, look, if we have to pick an era to kind of aim at, I would say Primeval.
Excellent.
Now, I don't think we've done that.
Okay, great, yeah.
I don't think we've done that, but that was what I wanted to happen, was to make it sound thick and punchy like Primeval did.
Well, yeah, I did it. Look, I have. I'll let you know now. I did a very favourable review of Ave, and I've actually already done the monologue that I'm going to include at the end of the podcast that I'll post as a result of our discussion. But I feel that Ave is almost. I'm not going to say it's a sequel to Primeval, but it's more or less cut from exactly the same cloth.
Yeah, I think when you look at all the different periods of Venom, I don't think that the Primeval era sounds anything like Welcome to Hell or Black Metal.
No.
But I think you can still tell that both of those eras are Venom.
Yes, and that was exactly the point that I made in my review. Yes.
Primeval didn't come out sounding like an Ozzy album or sounding like an Iron Maiden album. It still sounded like Venom. Totally different singer, and that's quite difficult to change the singers and make it still sound like the band. And I think that blanket sound of Venom, we carried that on with RBA. So although it sounds, if you're very specific about it, it's a lot cleaner, it's a lot brighter, it's a lot more modern than Primeval. However, it still sounds like Venom,
yes,
playing those songs. So I think we've managed to do that, if anything. It still sounds like us. We haven't suddenly, decided that we need to sound like Pantera or we need to sound like a new metal album, new metal band, sorry. We've managed to keep it sounding like Venom, and for that's the important thing, I think.
Let me read to you just a paragraph of the review that I performed for Ave, and this is just a paragraph, as I say. So I'll just start the quote now.
Okay.
Make no mistake, though, Dolan's Venom contained the DNA of Welcome to Hell and black metal, but it was a far more noteworthy for improved musicianship and a more traditional forging of heavy metal songcraft. Ave is well and truly a part of the forgotten Venom legacy forged through high-quality yet overlooked albums from Primeval to The Wastelands in 1992. I highly recommend the reader explore these forgotten gems. So I think you and I, end quote, I think you and I are on the same page with this.
I think we absolutely are, yeah. I think it's, and if we hadn't have been, then I think Ave would have been, don't get me wrong, I've read reviews, most of our reviews are pretty good for it, but I've read reviews where people are being very honest and they're saying that, this song doesn't do that, or this song is a bit this or that, and people are being very honest with it, and I agree with that as well. So I think a lot of people get what we're doing, and I think the going back to your very early question or remark, we now kind of get the respect and the understanding that we didn't get then, in those earlier days. We get a lot more now where people are like people and this underground metal thing. Don't forget, people are very, very knowledgeable about their history.
They are, yes.
And they all speak to each other more now with the social media, and everybody will have an opinion, of course. And, a lot of people still turn around and say Venom shit. A lot of people who like Cronos' Venom will very openly say how much they don't like Dolan. They don't pick on me and Jeff so much, but Dolan gets a lot of flack because they feel that a lot of people feel it should be the ultimate. Three, and that includes Cronos, not Dolan. And Dolan takes it on the chin an awful lot for that. So, but he'll be the first one to tell you. I mean, I'm sure you'll speak to him. He'll be the first one to tell you that it's better to have two Venoms. He was a Venom fan, a long-time Venom fan of Cronos, me and Jeff. And when he did Atomcraft, that was a nod towards Venom.
Okay.
And the he fully understands, and I think he's due a lot of respect now from sort of metal fans who will pick this up maybe as their first Venom album, and they might look back and say, "Oh, well, hang on, Primeval might have been pretty good. How can I get it?"
Well,
so
I think
there's a lot of that history, a lot of looking back.
Yeah, you're right, and look, what my personal take on both outfits is that the Cronos-fronted Venom is akin to the Exorcist ragged Linda Blair, whereas the Dolan-fronted Venom Inc. is more like Hellraiser's brooding Pinhead. And I think the two-band solution is rather sensible, to be frank. I really do.
It is to me. I always said, I mean, it's water on the bridge. But I got into an argument with Conrad and Jeff when we did, around the time that they did Resurrection.
Oh, yeah.
And I was supposed to play on Resurrection, and I didn't. I refused to do it. But people turn around to me and say, "Yeah, okay, so you don't like Resurrection?" I say, "No, I'm not saying that." And they say, "Well, is that not Venom because you're not there?" And my argument has always been, Venom were a three-piece. If there's two members of the original Venom in a band, then you should call that Venom. And that, to me, is fair. If me and Jeff are playing together, then it should have the word Venom attached to it. Because a lot of people have also levelled at us and said you shouldn't call it Venom, call it Primeval or something. I say, well, that's not really fair, because me and Jeff were in the band long before Conrad joined.
That's correct, yeah.
So to attach that logo, which is mine, was the original logo, and to attach the word Venom to it in some shape or form, is legitimate in my eyes, because there's two band members,
Well, I think it's rather sensible for another reason, and we're starting to see more of it. Now, I've spoken to David Vincent from Morbid Angel about this, but he's done something similar with his band called I Am Morbid, and the fans love it. And to be completely honest, God, I'll probably out myself here, but I actually prefer what he's doing with I Am Morbid to what Trags Agtoth is doing with the Morbid Angel. And I've got to be frank again, I prefer what you guys are doing over and above what Cronos is doing with Venom. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and you are listening to Scars and Guitars on 4ZZZ Digital.
You can take it or leave it.
That's
you have the option. We're not saying, okay, we're Venom now, so Cronos has to stop. What we're saying is you can have his new album and ours. They're both there.
Yeah, you're right. And you mentioned earlier about fan reaction to the two-band solution. Was there ever any doubt in your mind that Venom Inc. was the right name for you to move forward with? I mean, I know you've sort of answered the question before, but I just thought I'd reframe the question again.
Yeah. Yes, Jeff specifically was very, very much against it. And when Tony and Jeff were doing the band before this, they called the band Empire of Evil.
That's right, yeah. And
the Empire is it's an amalgamation of the letters in the word Prime. So there was another band called Primeval, so they couldn't use that. They very deliberately wanted to make their new band an extension of what the three of us did at that period, that Primeval period. So they very deliberately did that with Empire of Evil.
Right.
So they were kind of on that tack anyway, and Jeff was very happy not to call it Venom anything. However, promoters who would book Empire of Evil wanted the word Venom on there somewhere, because that's what sells tickets. And Cronos was very, very, very against that, to a point of sending out official letters. When I joined, when I went back and we put the band back together as Venom, I said, even more so, the promoters are going to use this Venom now. We need to defend it against Cronos. So he sent another couple of letters, which we got a solicitor down and sent back, and then it stopped because he could see the legitimacy of me being there. So it stopped, but Jeff was very against calling it. Jeff wanted to call it Iron and Steel, which was lyrics from Die Hard, Legion's Iron and Steel. So Jeff wanted to call it. So if you look at the early Venom Inc. T-shirts, it's got Venom Inc. on the top, it's got my logo on the top, but it's also got Iron and Steel written underneath. And that was Jeff trying to hold on to that, because he kind of didn't want to get into fights with Conrad. He wanted to have a new band. He wanted to be new and different and fresh. And it's only since we've been going out so much and people have been telling him, fans have been telling to his face, look, this is Venom. I don't care what Cronos says, this is Venom. The way you play those songs, and even Jeff admitted it. Jeff did an interview in Rio de Janeiro, and I was gobsmacked, because Jeff's never said this before.
Right. Yep.
But I kind of came up and joined in the interview midway, and Jeff said, look, I had asked him, how he made the band sound as almost exactly as it did in the early days, so old school. And Jeff said, it's him, it's the drummer. Every time he plays, when I play those songs, it just sounds like that. It just sounds like the old days. And I was gobsmacked, because he'd never admitted that before. I mean, when this band started, I don't know how much you know, but when this band started, it was in the middle of an Empire of Evil set at Keep It True Festival. Okay. And Oliver had rang me, the guy who runs the festival, rang me and said, would you come over? Empire of Evil are going to play. Now, they were playing 3 old Venom songs. They did Countess Battery, they did Leave Me in Hell, and they did Black Metal with their young Italian drummer. So I was standing there waiting to go on, and they played the songs, and the guy was great. He's a brilliant drummer. The songs sounded great.
Mm-hmm.
And I came on midway through their set, and we played old Venom songs. We played 6 old Venom songs. And everybody that was there, there was a big Venom fan club contingent there, and everybody was just, like, open-eyed, and they were like, how can the drummer make it sound like it's the right band again? You've just played those songs with another drummer, with a better drummer, much younger, much better. And that's what's done it. It's like, for some reason, when I play drums and Jeff plays guitar, it just sounds right. It sounds like the band from 1990, end of the 80s, 1990s, this kind of thing. It just sounds right.
It does. It just sounds right. There's something.
I don't know how.
It's a bit like, the way I look at it, it's a bit like an old friend. Like, well, you know how you got mates from your childhood, or have you, when you see them after many years apart,
yeah,
and you sort of sit in the same room. You don't actually need to say too much after you've got the greetings out of the way. You can just sort of sit there and enjoy each other's company. I think that's a bit of the vibe that you're talking about. When you play with Jeff, it's just something that's meant to be. It's something that rests very easily on people's ears.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And when you when you're playing these songs live, which has been predominantly what's been happening, and we're playing these old songs live, when you get in the groove of a song, it's very comfortable. It's very easy to do. And it just feels... And people in the crowd kind of react to that. They feel part of it.
Yes.
And the wave of appreciation that comes over after every song and at the end of the set is gigantic. And don't forget, these people now, seriously, like I said, they're seriously knowledgeable. And they're able to go and see almost any band in the world. And like you say, with Morbid Angel, you can see 2 versions of it. And they go and, they can say, oh, this is the 4th time I've seen Metallica, or the 5th time I've seen Slayer. So they can easily pick us up and put us down again, and just say, oh, well, it was all right, but, just another metal band. But we don't get that. We get this wave after wave of appreciation. We played Slovenia on Sunday night, and we got put back, so we had to go on like 2 a.m. And everybody had stayed till we turned up. And we got called back for 3 encores. And I mean called back. It wasn't like we were going to say, okay, we didn't save any songs. We had to kind of go, all right, what do we know? What haven't we played? And we had to do that 3 times. And that's at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning, when there's been thunderstorms all day. People, and they've seen bands since, dinner time. You'd have thought, okay, I've seen the band, I'll go to bed now. But no, they were up there, and it's fucking amazing.
I think there's an enormous amount... Sorry, I'll double back for a moment. You are right that metal fans are very knowledgeable, and because of that reason, there's an enormous amount of goodwill and respect toward the 2 of you. And I think 3 of you. I'll include Tony in this as well. Metal fans, being knowledgeable, understand that he's an integral part of the legacy forged by Venom through the 80s and 90s. And there's also something else that is really important to note, is that you can't look at a band photo of a black or maybe not a death metal band, but certainly a black metal band from the late 80s from Scandinavia or Europe through the late 80s, I'll start again. You can't look at a photo of a black metal band from the late 80s or early 90s if they came from Scandinavia or Europe and not see a band member wearing a Venom t-shirt. It was almost part of the standard issue uniform. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you see everybody wearing them. It's become this, James and Lars have always got them on, and Kerry King, and I mean, Phil Anselmo's got a Venom tattoo, and
yes.
it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere, and you're correct. And it's I mean, you do get bands from that era who would turn around and say, "Oh, Venom aren't black metal," because and it's like they instantly get put down. It's like, mate, learn your history.
Oh, bloody oath!
Venom are black metal, and what you are is you're the son or daughter of that. People ask me, "Are you proud of what black metal become?" It's we give them the ball and they ran with it, and they took it into a whole new different place. And that's if you're a great engineer and you have a child and your child becomes a brilliant painter and decorator, you just want them to be the best painter and decorator that there is. You don't want to say to them, come over here and be an engineer and I'll show you how. You give them some help, but once they find their own feet, you want them to be the best at it. So taking the ball and running, that's what it's about, and it's humbling. It's really humbling to see, professional musicians who are able to make a career themselves out of this, and and build their own legacies. And that's a massive thing. That's it's down in no short part to the support of the metal underground right across the world, which as you know is gigantic. And people buy so much material, records and T-shirts and this kind of thing, that it really does support where a lot of other music's gone to the wall. The metal underground has supported itself. The fans support the band. Without the fans, there is nothing. There's just some guys playing in the garage.
Yes, you're right. Hey, a question that's just come to me, and I've always wanted to ask you this. I don't know why I didn't plan to ask you. I've got a little running sheet here of some questions that I'm planning to ask, but this isn't a part of it. But you know how a lot of these very attractive young ladies are now wearing Slayer and Morbid Angel T-shirts and they've always been wearing the Motorhead T-shirts, but have you guys got your licensing sorted out? So I have seen a lot of very attractive young ladies wearing Venom T-shirts, and I have no doubt that in the near future it's going to become a thing, and it might even get licensed to a H&M or one of those high-end fashion shops. But who owns the Venom logo? Is that your good self?
It is, yeah.
Great. Okay.
It's something that we've looked at doing. I mean, there's a bit of controversy over, I don't know if you've seen it, but Beyonce used the Venom logo and changed it directly with Beyonce and with her. Yeah, it's quite a big deal over here at the moment. It's got her face instead of the Welcome to Hell face, and it's got Beyonce but with the Venom lettering. And we're in the middle of trying to sort that out, because it's a very obvious thing that she's done.
Well, good on you for doing that, mate. Props to you.
Or a generation's done, because it's all right to use that, but you still have to go back to the original person and say, is it okay if I do this? I would not have said no. I would, however, have said, yeah, you can use it, but let's sort of deal out.
What do you think of, like, Kim Kardashian of all people was wearing a Morbid Angel T-shirt a week ago? What do you think of this trend, though, of models and people who are in the spotlight and who have well over 1 million Twitter followers and Instagram followers wearing black and death metal attire?
Well, I mean, there's two sides to it, because there are more people, I guess, who look at Kardashians than look at Morbid Angel, who could potentially go and seek out to see what the band's like. So you could look on that side of it and say, is it promotion, You could also look at it and from every metal fan's point of view, I guess, and say to her, name one Morbid Angel song. So, there's then two sides to it. Is metal same as horror movies, I guess, like when you get a T-shirt with Reagan on, or like you said, Pinhead or something. It's a very fashionable thing, and heavy metal music has become fashion. I mean, don't forget a lot of the models at the end of the 70s or whatever were wearing bin bags and sort of slashed stockings and tights and this kind of thing, and trying to look punky,
Yes, yeah.
Get the London look and all this kind of thing. So,
look, yeah.
you know what I mean? It's always going to be there,
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I mean, for every Kardashian, you're going to get a Gary Holt.
Yeah, I was going to mention Gary.
With a kill the Kardashians.
I know, and that was after.
What's that?
That was after one of the Kardashian clan. I don't know the names of the sisters. Who are the other sisters? They don't have the surname Kardashian.
No.
They've got the other surname. Sorry, I can't. I'm not a. You can tell I don't keep up with popular culture in that regard. Sorry, but yeah, I thought it was interesting. Was it Jenner? The little girls? They're called surname Jenner. I can't remember their first names. Anyway, they were wearing Slayer T-shirts, and then Gary Holt started to wear the Kill the Kardashians or Fuck the Kardashians T-shirt in response. Oh, I don't know whether it was in response, but it was after that. And I thought, he's not a fan. He's made it pretty clear what he thinks.
No, definitely not. But that's what I mean. I think he's not necessarily, I don't think, against the Kardashians. I think what he's against is what you asked, which is the culture of them wearing a Morbid Angel T-shirt or a Slayer T-shirt. I think that's what he's kicking against, rather than just hating the Kardashians in general. It's very easy to pick on them, but it's also much easier to just ignore them. I think the fact that Gary's having a go is he's actually having a go at the culture you're speaking about.
I think there's more to it, and the reason why is because these little Jenner girls have been wearing heavy metal T-shirts. Kanye West has been spotted now more than a few times. I've got a Facebook page and I've posted the images. He's been spotted wearing a Megadeth t-shirt and a Cradle of Filth t-shirt, and his wife Kim Kardashian, of course, is famous, well, not famous, but she famously wore a Morbid Angel t-shirt. So I reckon somebody in that clan is actually a genuine fan of heavy metal, because they don't seem to be taking the piss either. They seem to be doing it, and it's like, this is just part of what I'm wearing right now. It's not like they've done something like put a big sticky or put some paint over it. It's like they're not a fan. They're not. What I'm saying is they don't seem to be wearing it ironically. They seem to be wearing it as if like this is just part of my clothes for the day. So I've got to tell you, mate.
Do you not think they just wear?
You're right. You go.
Do you not think they're just wearing it to be a bit risky, a bit out there, a bit punk?
I think yes.
And it could have been any T-shirt.
I think
it could have been any. I think it could have been any band T-shirt as long as it was something that turned heads.
Well, the only reason I don't think that is because I haven't seen them in a Good Charlotte T-shirt or a Sum 41 T-shirt. I've only seen them wear these really heavy metal band T-shirts, like genuinely, like bands that heavy metal fans are proud to call their own. There's no conjecture over, well, as far as I'm concerned, there's no conjecture over Cradle of Filth, Morbid Angel, and Slayer. You know what I mean? They're three heavy metal fans.
I'll tell you what, let's me and you get together over a pint and we call the Kardashians and see what they say.
I reckon.
See if we'll take our call, eh?
Mate, I tagged Kanye and Kim Kardashian in my post. I never heard back though, so I'm a bit shitty about that.
Oh, well, there you go.
But, mate, I'm really happy for you.
I'll send them
You go, mate.
What's that?
Oh, I'm really happy for you that you got the licensing sorted out. You know, the licensing of the image, because it's such a well-known image, and Venom is effectively a brand. Yes, yeah. I mean, it is, and just over everything we've been saying, it's become a brand outside of the culture. You're talking about shops like H&M, and other places that could potentially stop this thing. I don't know if I'd like them to, but that's not the point. The point is that it's a brand that could potentially be seen in those circumstances, So yeah, I'm very, very proud of it. No, good on you, mate. No, there's all sorts of issues, I think, with ownership of trademark in bands these days. And if you don't mind me asking you this question, if you've got the licensing or you own the trademark behind the Venom logo, how does Cronos perform under Venom and use that logo associated with his version of the band?
It's just a case of, at the moment, not wanting to stir a big load of hassle. We're doing what we do and he's doing what he does. He tried, as I said before, to stop us doing this, and we sort of answered back and put him in his place, but we didn't press that by saying, and furthermore, you can't use it. It's a case of if we do have to sit around a table with solicitors, it's going to get expensive on both sides, and neither of us are millionaires, So where do you find a happy compromise? We're being successful with what we want to do with Venom Inc. And in some degrees, you just have to be happy with that.
Well, I think the fans should be happy. I'm certainly happy. I don't see anything wrong with the two-band solution, as I said. It's happening more and more, and I've just realised there's another one. LG Petrov from Entombed has got Entombed AD, and Alex and Nikki are doing Entombed, similar to what you guys have done with Venom. So it does work, and the fans aren't complaining.
No, I think it definitely does work, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a bit of a different question now. You have toured a lot, and by any measure, you've probably seen a lot on tour and in the studio. So you can be as not safe for work here as you like, because I do host an R-rated program. What's the craziest thing that you've seen, heard, or have happened to you?
Wow, the craziest. I'd go back to a night that I was doing press with Cronos. I'm a big drinker. I've always been I come from a family of people who drink. And Cronos wasn't very good at that, Conrad. Wasn't very good at drinking. And we did an interview that was in a recording studio. We went to a recording studio in Holland. and it was a nice studio, very expensive studio, and the glass partition between the control room and the studio was like 6 foot square. It was huge, and there was an air gap of about a foot in between, thick, really thick, heavy-duty glass. And we turned up. We had a stretch limousine when we were touring, sort of going around doing different bits, and the record company paid for a nice car. And this car was white and white leather interior, full J seat on the back, full white leather interior. And we went into the room, and Cronos had a bit of a drink. And the young guy came in, the engineer came in and changed the microphone settings, the shape of the microphone. And he went back in the control room, and Cronos stood up and changed the mic. Changed it around, the shape of it.
Yep.
So the young guy had to come back in again, did it again. Cronos stood up, changed it again. And within about a split second, I mean, he'd only had the neck of a bottle of whiskey. Within a split second, he went at the kid to hit him. But he forgot that the glass was in the way, and he went straight through 2 plates of sheet glass.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
And the glass was everywhere. There was blood everywhere. I grabbed him and pulled him back, and there was glass flying everywhere. He just lost his shit, totally lost it. And we got bundled out the side door and into this stretch limousine. And I was trying to cop. There was blood everywhere in this car. I was cut, he was cut. And he just stopped. You know when you get that moment when somebody who's that drunk just stops and looks at you? And he tried to bite me in the face. So we were fighting. I punched him in the mouth. There was blood everywhere, hair pulling. There was fucking, And the guy took us to the hotel, and he was like, you're going to get billed for this. And the manager was there, and we wound up. He came for me again. We wound up in this fucking canal, and there was, it was ludicrous. It was just Jesus. A fucking ludicrous night, and we got into bed, and the fucking 3 a.m. and the police turned up, and they said, this guy, he's turned up, and he's in the like the food storage area in the hotel. He'd broken in to get something to eat. He was hungry. Yep. And he had no shirt on. He was covered in cuts, and he's sitting there, hair all over the place, broken nose, soaking wet, covered in blood, sitting eating raw meat in this fucking. And we were like, oh, fucking great. So they took the passports off us, and we spent a day in jail till the record company could get us out and get our passports back and on a plane home. It was just the most fucking intense night of my fucking life.
You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that was my conversation with Anthony Bray, a.k.a. Abaddon, the drummer in the band Venom, a.k.a. Venom Inc. Thank you so much for listening.